Live from New York. It's a show that is looking forward to that Patriots-Eagles games. I have it circled on my calendar.
Upset alert?
No, the Patriots are actually...
of course not.
Okay, never mind.
Well,
when you know the game, the eye test counts.
but what are you watching? Preseason? We start with another day, another Super Bowl manifestation from the Jets. This time, it's Dalvin Cook. I think it's very realistic, he said. Obviously, you look at the roster, you look at the people we've had, and the things that we already had. That's why I came, and that's why I'm here to help in any way I can to get where we need to go. And that's holding up the trophy. Okay. Is it too soon? Obviously, the answer is yes, to talk about the Jets in the Super Bowl.
It's been too soon from the moment Rodgers started doing this and the team started doing this at the introductory press conference. Maybe it would have made sense if this was a one-year deal. If Rodgers was like, I'm playing one year with the Jets and that's it. But it seems like he made it very clear very early, and certainly as of late, that this is not a one-year deal. And this is an very straightforward, almost obvious statement. But it seems like the Jets don't agree with it, which is you should never set up the following scenario where you have the best year your company, your team, your organization has had in more than a decade, and it's a disappointment. And the Jets, there are a half dozen different ways that happens. They go 10-7 and sneak into the playoffs. It's the best year they've had in a decade, and it's a massive disappointment if they lose in round one. They go 11-6 and win a single playoff game. It's one of the three best years they've had in a quarter century, and it's a bit of a disappointment. They go above 500. It's only the second time they've done that in a dozen years. They'll fire the coach. Yeah. So, the idea that they wanted to jump to the end of the book rather than go like, hey, you know what? We think we're going to be better than we were last year. We think we're going to compete for the division. And hey, with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, get in the tournament. We'll see what happens. But we are building something here. That could have been the messaging. Instead, the messaging has been Lombardi or bust, which makes no sense for the New York Jets.
Well, first of all, I hear you, because New York has gone a bit overboard. New York City and the New York City media talking Super Bowl, but they are not Wildes. They're not the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my God!
They are not. They are talking Super Bowl in New York. Yeah. But if they go 11-6, win a playoff game. If they get to the AFC title game and lose, I get that. But even if they just win one playoff game, they're 11-6. 11-6 is going to be good in that division in the AFC. Yeah. Like, that would be like, oh, we're thinking Super Bowl.
Over the moon.
So I get that. But if they win a playoff game, and Rodgers plays well, and the thought is, and he says he'll be back next year, I don't think it'll be a ton of disappointment.
No, but 10-7 and the 7th seed and making the playoffs.
And losing in the first game.
But that would be the best year they've had since 2010.
But you haven't had Aaron Rodgers.
But so here's I know that when it comes to the Cowboys, Brew, you have the Cowboys in a totally separate group than everyone else. That's fine. I know you don't with the Jets. So let me ask you this. What is success for the Lions this year?
Making the playoffs.
Yes. Why are the Jets different? Why?
Because they have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, really.
Yeah, but the Lions were better last year.
If Jared Goff got traded to the Jets, they wouldn't be talking Super Bowl. They'd be happy to make the playoffs. This is Aaron Rodgers, and yes, he was bad or mediocre last year, but very few people, but very few think that's going to happen again. And Dalvin Cook, look, you can see by the answers. He was asked, is it realistic? How realistic is it for you to get to the Super Bowl? He just says it's very realistic. And he talks about the roster. We've got to put it together. You're right that Aaron Rodgers started it all. Maybe if he doesn't talk about how lonely the 69 Super Bowl trophy looks, none of this happens. But you know what? I like an all-in Aaron Rodgers. I like a chip on his shoulder, something to prove. Watch this, Aaron Rodgers. I like that. And that's what the Jets have, and that's why the city is so excited.
So maybe my memory fails me, but when Stafford joined the Rams, They were, I think, plus 1,500 to win the Super Bowl, and they had just gone to the Super Bowl, and the year that Jared Goff got jettisoned out, they won that playoff game. Remember, Warford was back in. When Tom Brady went to the Bucs, I felt like the conversation was, man, I wonder what Tom Brady's going to do. Could you imagine? It wasn't Super Bowl or bust.
Correct.
It's Super Bowl time in Tampa Bay, and he's Tom Brady, who's 30-11 with the Patriots in the playoffs, not Rodgers, who's 11-10. So this idea, like, get to the dance and see anything could happen with your quarterback who's barely above 500 versus Tom Brady, who get to the dance, anything can happen, and win 4 road games and be the champion.
I think there are two reasons.
3 road games and then a home Super Bowl, wildly unfair.
I think there are 2 reasons for that, Wildes. One, when Brady did it, he did it. The fact that Brady did it is one reason people think, oh, Rodgers could do it. You know, just
and
because
then Stafford did it.
And Stafford did it too. Yeah,
that team was good.
Yes, agreed.
Right,
Go ahead.
but Tampa Bay was 7-9 the year before Brady got there, and it's New York, and everything is magnified in New York. That's a big part.
Yeah, but they don't. But everything can be magnified, and you don't have to add to the magnification. They have absolutely leaned into this.
That's right.
Kevin Clark said today, and I had forgotten it, and he's right, that a week before they signed Rodgers, the GM was on either the radio or somewhere saying, "We got Aaron." They have been leaning into it. I know they said they didn't want to do Hard Knocks. That was foisted upon them. So be it. But they have made it clear that they don't think these expectations are out of whack. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is, I think that the person who I think is going to pay the bill for that is the head coach. I think that the Jets could have what I would consider a surprisingly good year and end up firing the head coach for it.
If they go 10-7, make the playoffs, I don't think he gets fired.
If they go 10-7, miss the playoffs, I think he does. You know what I mean? And that's the same here.
Look,
That's
your quarterback's 40 and he's got, I guess, 2 years? You got to win it. You got to at least get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I wonder if he would get fired if Rodgers, let me run it back again with Robertson.
Well, yeah. But
if Rodgers wants to keep him, but if they don't make the playoffs,
if they don't, I just don't.
Looking for his boy.
You look at the AFC, and I know we're going to get to it here. It is a hell of an ask just to have a viable chance at a deep playoff run, much less be the team to beat.
All right, here's the actual odds. Our Chiefs at number 1, obviously. Then the Eagles. You don't believe in the Chiefs?
Stop that, Wildes.
Wow.
You don't get to claim ownership on them. You're already picking the Lions.
Wow, weird.
Wildes been on the Chiefs for a while.
Big time.
I mean, long enough for me to be like, you know what? All right.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Then the Bills, then the Bengals, brew your Bengals. San Francisco, the Cowboys, the Jets, and then the Ravens. So how realistic are these Super Bowl hopes?
Totally unrealistic.
Thank you.
Wildly unrealistic.
All those teams last year, very good.
Listen, I'm not even gonna talk about them winning the Super Bowl, because then we have to bring in the NFC. I'm just going to talk about them making the Super Bowl. So we'll cut off half the test, and they don't even have to take that part of the exam. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the Jags. Even if you think the Jets versus Jags, the Jets would win, we all agree the Jags' path to the postseason is far easier. Teams that have a better chance to win the Bills.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is it realistic for the Jags to win the Super Bowl or reach
make
the Super Bowl?
Well, I think they could have the 1 seed. And if you have the 1 seed, then you just, you maim Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game again, anything can happen to you. I mean, it almost worked for him last time. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the Jags, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Chargers. Now, I think the Steelers will be better than the Jets, but I wouldn't put the Steelers ahead of them because I don't know that I trust Kenny Pickett can win 3 playoff games his first time in the postseason. But it does come down, so that's half the conference is in a better position.
I would disagree that they're all in a better position. Now, they're not the favorites, all right? You mentioned Kansas City. Some would say Buffalo, Cincinnati. There are some teams you would put ahead of the Jets. But I think that graphic was fairly right on the money. I do think in an NFL where we haven't had a team repeat as champion in the Super Bowl since 2005. Okay, 19 years. All right, and that's with Tom Brady's dominance and now Patrick Mahomes' dominance.
Yeah.
In an NFL where nobody not named Tom Brady has repeated a Super Bowl champion this millennia.
Well,
okay, when in an NFL where in the past decade, 11 different teams have reached the Super Bowl. There might be a surprise. And why not one with a Hall of Fame quarterback with a chip on his shoulder?
All right, so two things. First of all, you're right about repeating as Super Bowl champion.
Right.
But in order to win the Super Bowl, the Jets have to get to the Super Bowl. And we have seen Tom Brady in the last few years. Go to 3 straight Super Bowls.
Right.
We have seen Patrick Mahomes go to back-to-back Super Bowls.
Okay, those are two of the greatest.
Well, but
ever.
One of them's still playing.
But he's not going to reach the Super Bowl. I get it,
He's
but
not
I'm
going to reach
saying
Super Bowl every year. I understand that. But
the defense was top 5 in points allowed and yards allowed last year.
And they did it despite not turning the ball over a bunch, like forcing turnovers, which probably helped.
They got nothing from the offense, and they still were a great defense. They got 9 returning starters. Their 2 best guys, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, are young and should be even better. The offense, I think more of Garrett Wilson than you. I think you like him, but I think the dude is elite. The running game should be great, and now you got Aaron. What is not to like?
Well, that's a fair question. And I know that you know how much I research with Josh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm out there grinding. And I was grinding all 22, and we came up with this brand new graphic that shed some light on how Aaron Rodgers has played recently. These are Rodgers' pass yards since December 19th, 2021. Now, it's been 23 games, bro. He's
December 19th, 2021.
For 300 yards.
How many games? 23?
23 games.
It includes playoffs.
It's not including the preseason game where he didn't even throw for 50, I don't think. I'm just saying, I know I've said this 500 times, but when he doesn't throw for 300 yards against the Bills, and he doesn't throw for 300 yards against the Cowboys, and then he doesn't throw for 300 yards against the Patriots, we're going to be like, you know what? I'm not sure MVP Aaron Rodgers walking through this door. Feels like we've got an older Aaron Rodgers who no longer throws the ball for 300 yards.
I can top that graphic.
Go ahead.
With a fact.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers, in his career as a starter, one time, he has had a top 5 defense.
12 years ago.
Guess what they
won
did?
The Super Bowl.
They won
12 years ago.
No, but it's only one time.
No, I get
he
that.
has never had a top 5. And you know I've been critical of him in the conference championship games. But he's also only had one top 5 defense ever. And now he's going to have one, I think.
That's totally legit. The part of this, though, that is the fly in the soup for the Jets fans that are expecting Rodgers to come through and be the savior here is it is not just for the Jets, in my opinion, about making the tournament. In order to have a real chance at it, they must win that division. Because Aaron Rodgers, here's what we know. He has not been good on the road in the postseason. Not just a win-loss record thing, because that can be on the defenses. He has, he was unbelievable on the road the year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, they won all road games. Since then, at home, he's like 18 touchdowns, 2 picks at home in the playoffs, like a 107 rating. And on the road, the ratings in the 80s. The touchdown interceptions are, I think, 8-5. I should have had the graphic pulled up like we had last time. He has not been a great road playoff quarterback. I think even the most optimistic Jets folks recognize they are not going to be the 1 or the 2 seed because of the tough schedule, because of the offensive line questions, because of all of it. So that, to me, is a real problem for them and one that is hard to work around.
He's going to have to answer some questions. Just getting to the playoffs, because we know he hasn't been great in the conference, even at home recently.
Correct.
So he's going to have to answer the questions, but the first step is getting to the playoffs.
Not getting in the playoffs. We are in the midst of prediction week here on First Things First. Yesterday, Nick Wright and I agreed with something. You dropped a bombshell that said not only are the Jets not going to the Super Bowl, not only are they not finishing in first place, but you know where they're going to finish? Dead last!
Oh, God.
Here's the graphic. Nick, I thought this was your best take of the day.
Okay, thanks. Bruce,
and I thought it was your
Besides the Patriots.
Okay, so hold on. Let me make the argument that I think you're going to have a hard time refuting. The Jets are the only team on there that disaster is on the board for.
100% right.
The Patriots, well, wait a second. Let's talk about it. The Patriots, it's hard to imagine them being worse than last year. Mac was worse than he was as a rookie. They had a defensive coordinator as offensive coordinator. They lost a game in the worst play in NFL history, still won 8 games. The Dolphins, the big question mark is, oh my, what if Tua gets hurt?
What if he gets
got hurt
early?
last year, and they made the postseason. The Bills, even if you think they're going to be 4 wins worse than last year, that's still 9 wins. And by the way, they only played 16 games, right? The Jets, it is in the realm of possibilities. The line doesn't get right. Rodgers is the player we saw last year. Saleh is the coach that we've seen his entire coaching career, and they're bad. I don't think there's any other team in the division that has 6-11 possible. The Jets, I'm not picking 6-11, right, but it is absolutely
what are you picking? They're going to be
I think 7-10. I think they're the same record as last year.
I don't think disaster's on the board. Even if Rodgers is mediocre, with that defense and with those skilled players, remember Breece Hall, they were 5-2 when Breece Hall went down. So you got, if Breece Hall comes back and plays well, you already have Dalvin Cook. Like and I don't think he'll be mediocre, and I don't want him to be mediocre, but just a mediocre Rodgers, I think, averts disaster. Now, it'll be viewed as disaster if they're just a pretty good team but doesn't make the playoffs, but I don't think they can be that bad. Because here's the thing, Nick. Do they have the worst quarterback in the division?
Maybe.
No.
It's a good question.
There's no possible way.
No.
It's your boy.
But they do have the worst coach.
Alabama Mac.
But they do have the worst coach. They do have
okay, but it doesn't mean he's a bad coach. They got a lot of good coaches in the division. Worst defense?
No.
Okay. Worst running backs?
No.
Worst wide receivers?
No, because the Patriots have no skill position.
Today, they don't have the worst offensive line.
Oh, you're saying it's all Patriots?
I wasn't even thinking which team, although the Patriots probably answer just about all those questions. But they don't have the worst anything. Maybe line, but right now it's the Patriots with the worst line.
Well, maybe.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.